What's going on? Welcome back to Fathersondiygarage. As you guys can see, we have a slab leak here in the house under the concrete.
And today, we're going to show you the fastest, easiest, and most cost-effective way to fix this problem for good. It's going to save you thousands of dollars.
So the first step when we saw that water on the floor was to have a leak detector come out and pinpoint the leak. You'll see that blue tape shows you exactly where that 3/4 inch pipe is running underground. And that square is exactly where that pipe was leaking at. Tore up the carpet, and you guys can see that nice wet spot in the concrete. So before we get into the repipe, I'm going to show you guys how to connect Pex A. The first thing you want to do is grab a pair of Pex cutters. I like these Milwaukee ones because they shear off a nice clean cut. And then you got to pick your fittings. They got brass fittings and plastic fittings. Brass fittings are obviously more expensive and higher quality, which is what I usually go with. But if you're looking to save some money, plastic's just fine. And you'll see here these fittings have these stoppers on them. The plastic and the brass ones do. And this is to show you how far to put the pipe onto the fitting. So the first thing you want to do is put your expansion sleeve over the pipe. Get your expansion tool. They have these automatic ones and manual ones. You want to expand the inside of the pipe with that sleeve over it. For 1/2 inch, it's about 5 times. And then you just slide the pipe right over the fitting. Same thing for the brass, same process, same outcome. So once you put the fitting in the pipe, you'll have a few seconds to turn it around whichever way you want to go in case you have it the wrong way. And here's a piece of 3/4 inch pipe. You'll see that that expansion tool takes a couple more expansions to get that all the way open. Slide the fitting right on. And I ended up putting all sides of this T on, letting it sit for about 10 minutes because that's the recommended time before you can test. And I tried even pulling this out of the T. And I'm not the biggest guy, but still, this thing didn't budge one bit. We went ahead and closed this room off because we were going to begin the process of cutting all the drywall in the ceiling and in the walls to run our new pipe. You'll see us here using a chalk line to get nice straight lines. You know, a lot of people would say, why bother? But, you know, it's nice to have nice clean cuts, you know, just for the drywaller to do his job good and just look like a professional. So when you have a slab leak like we did, the best thing you could do is reroute the piping inside the house. So in this case, in the ceiling and in the walls. Because what that means is the pipe is either going bad or the house is settling on the pipe too much, crushing it and causing it to leak. So everywhere I'm cutting a hole here in the ceiling is where new piping is going to be ran. Went ahead and used the oscillating saw, also known as the multi-tool. Makes some pretty quick work of cutting open this drywall. And we're going to make sure we have all the tools and materials listed down below in the description for this video in case you guys want to do a fix yourself and follow along. And you'll see me cutting some holes here in the wall. And that's where we're going to drop down the wall to pick up our bathroom fixtures. And here are the holes for the hose bib on the exterior of the house. I measured down 4 inches. Used the whole saw to make a nice clean hole. Measured 4 inches over and did another hole for our hot water. And we did that on every single joist until we reached our fixture that we wanted to. And again, using the laser is not something you have to do, but it shows professionalism, and you can see the light at the end of that tunnel, so you know you have some straight holes. Makes the piping look good, and if you're doing this for somebody else, could possibly get you another job. So the way the plumbing gets into this area of the house is it goes from the kitchen to the hallway manifold to the exterior hose bib to the bathroom and then to the bathroom fixtures. And we also have a line coming off that manifold going to our second floor toilet. And our plan is to erase all that underground piping and repipe that manifold into the walls and ceiling. So here's our old manifold I cut out. And that 1/2 inch line on the left is our toilet upstairs. That middle is a supply for the manifold. And that one on the right is for the hose bib and the bathroom. So we cut and capped those and we continued that riser up. Now it's time to start running the piping. This is for our main cold water going from that manifold into the ceiling. And I'm going to drop it down in the wall to catch that manifold. I like to tape it up just so there's no debris that gets inside the pipe. And we went ahead and left that long inside the wall just to come back and tie it in later. Went ahead and put on all these suspension clamps to hold it on every joist, just so the pipe's nice and protected and nice and straight. What up? And after that picks up the hose bib, it goes to 1/2 inch to feed the bathroom. So we are connecting with a 3/4 by 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch brass tee. And I know we're using red Pex to pipe our cold water, but that's all they had at the store, and honestly the color doesn't really matter. It's not a code, so as long as you know what pipe is what, it's going to be fine. And here's how the framing works in the house. And like most houses, you know, you got your studs going down the wall. You got your 16-inch on center studs. You got your blocking inside the wall. You got your top plate. And you got your bottom plate. And your ceiling. So here I'm drilling through the blocking. And then through that top plate to get me into the ceiling. That way I can run my pipe from the bottom up through the wall and into the ceiling. I ran that piece straight up and then I expanded and put a 3/4 inch brass 90. Then I ran my run piece across the ceiling to meet up with it. Cut that long. Then I went ahead and connected that to my 90 going down the wall. There it is. Put some straps against that joist to hold it in place. Then I cut my pipe and connected it to that T. So with the hose bib pipe ran, we went ahead and demoed the old one. And since this just had a stucco patch already, I went ahead and hammered it out of the wall and put a new stub out in. These stub outs get you from PEX to copper, and they got some nice holes for screws. Put 8 screws in there to hold it in, and then I went back outside, cut off that end and sanded it, fluxed it up, put an MIP on the outside, soldered it, put some tape, put some pipe dope, and then I cranked on my hose bib. And that one was done. Now I'm going to the bathroom wall. So right here I'm cutting in a 1/2 inch brass tee to go towards the wall and pick up our sink. So just like the hose bib, drilling through that top plate, Get the pipe in the wall. And we got a 90 pointing us down in the wall, and then connected that to the T. Put some straps in the wall to hold the pipe nice and safe. And then I demoed that old lav and put a new stub out in. Went ahead and screwed it right to that plywood backing they had originally. Cut my Pex to size. Expanded it. And locked it in. Then I moved on to getting my toilet supply and my shower supply, which are coming off that same line. So this is the end of the line. So I went ahead and put a 90 on the end. And then we also got a 90 getting us in the wall. And that overhead was connected. Then I went ahead and demoed all the old copper pipe in the wall. I soldered on a 90 and a Pex 2 copper adapter in that 90. Drilled some holes through those studs. Ran a piece of 1/2-inch Pex to pick up that shower. And after you solder it, you gotta wait a good 5-10 minutes because it's still gonna be hot. You don't want to melt that Pex. And we went ahead and cut in a 1/2-inch T right here because we got that toilet supply on the bottom. Put a little support piece of wood in there for it to screw it to. Then connected to that toilet supply. And we went inside the bathroom, put an escutcheon over that. And then later on in the day, we went back with our 1/2-inch copper cutters, cut off that stub out, reamed it. I like to sand it a little bit just to make sure the pipe's nice and clean. Cranked on an angle stop, and our supply line to the toilet. And that one was complete. Now we're going to that upstairs bathroom. So we cut a 3/4 by 1/2-inch T in there. You'll see this one's actually a plastic one because I didn't see a brass T at Home Depot. And here's my dad fishing that 1/2-inch Pex into the ceiling. Expanded that, connected it. And this was the line coming up from the underground to feed the upstairs toilet. So I went ahead and demoed that. Then I soldered on a copper to Pex adapter. And we capped off that old line. You'll see here it actually popped off right away. I guess there was a lot of water, made some steam. But we ended up getting it done. You want to make sure you cap off all your old lines just so there's no water coming out in the future. And we got that toilet connected. With all of our fixtures connected with cold water, it was time to take off our shark bite for our main. Sucked all that water out so we could solder on a Pex to copper adapter. Some flux. Heated it up and got the joint complete. We let that cool for about 10 minutes and then we went ahead and expanded our 3/4 pipe and connected it. And with all the cold water complete, we went into the hot water, and the hot water manifold was actually right next to the cold in that hallway. And all that piping used to be underground, but now we're taking it into the ceiling as well. The more pipe you can get out of the ground, the better. And since the holes are already open, might as well do it. So this line's going to be 1/2 inch because that's what they had in the ground for it, for the supply. I recommend using the same pipe size that they have in the ground, just because that's for adequate supply. Doing the same thing here, strapping it, just like we did with our first line. Making sure we got a strap in every single joist. And we're teeing off right here, just like we did with that cold water, to go down to our sink. Same thing here, we cut to size. Put our expansion sleeve on, expand that pipe. And lock it in. And then for the hot water, I soldered on another 90 and copper to Pex adapter for that shower. Waited about 10 minutes and then connected that. And then put a 90 from that coming down the wall to that going through the studs. And since those were the only 2 hot water fixtures, we were done with that. We were going over to the manifold, kind of reworking that and putting a Pex to copper adapter on that as well. Waited for that to cool down as well, and then attached our 1/2 inch Pex. And then once all the piping was done, we went back and put nail plates everywhere that we thought we might get a screw in the wall, because we're having drywallers come in after this, and last thing we want is to have to rework the piping. Little tip for you guys: if you're trying to locate where your piping goes underground, you blow into one end, and wherever it comes out, that's what is feeding that fixture.
Yep.
And to wrap this video up, we got to cap off some of these ends just so none of the water comes out of the pipe ever. You'll see here I marked the full length of the shark bite, slip it on, and tap it on with some channel locks. And then you can also solder on some caps the old-fashioned way. And that's it.
Here's to another completed project.
Yeah, this piping went in really easy, guys, and we had 0 leaks when we tested it, which is always a great sign. So,
hey, things are looking good. Next up is the drywall, and then this house will be put back together just like it was before.
all right. Thanks for tuning in to Fatherson DIY Garage. Cheers.
Cheers.